Hey guys, it's Julia and welcome back to my channel, and for today's video I'm going to be doing my September wrap-up talking about the books that I read in the month of September. First two things that I read were Cheese Sweet Home Volume 1 and Volume 2. These are mangas about a cat. They're very adorable and they're in color. They're the bind-ups of them and they're so cute. I love reading these. They're adorable. They make me so happy. The first one I gave 5 stars and the second one I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars. Next up here I have It by Stephen King. I finally read this. I have a review posted, so I'll link that up on the screen and in the description box. I was about to say in the comments. But this book was really good. I really enjoyed it. Basically it's about a town called Derry and the Losers Club. So this group of children are experiencing and investigating a bunch of missing children, other children who have gone missing, and then they meet a clown named Pennywise who is kind of not a clown, because I don't want to get too into it, but this book was really good. I really enjoyed it. It dragged at parts, but other than that, I loved the writing. I loved the creepy aspect. I don't get scared from books, but if I were to say like the scariest book I've ever read, this did have some creepy vibes to it and some creepy scenes. So be aware of that. But I give this 4.25 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. One of my favorite Kings now, definitely in my top 5. So yeah, here I have They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This book is about it takes place in our modern day world, but there is this aspect of it that there is like an industry and like a big corporation called Deathcast, and they will give you a phone call on the day that you're gonna die and say, hey, you're gonna die in 24 hours, do what you gotta do. And you have to organize all this stuff, like where your money's gonna go and like what you're gonna give to your loved ones, and you can attend your own funeral and things like that. Basically it's about these two boys who meet on this app called the Last Friend app, and the Last Friend app is for people who are going to die that day, or other people go on that app to spend time with people who are gonna die that day, and you communicate, you can make friends, you can get dates, you can have sex, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, and it's about these two boys that meet and they form a friendship. I don't know what it is about Adam Silvera's books. Like, I love him as a person, and just like interviews and what I've heard from other people and other authors and things like that. He seems like a great person, but I didn't like History's All You Left Me, and this book I liked better than that, but I still didn't love this book. I loved the concept. I thought it was really fleshed out, like just the whole, like I could really believe it. Like it was just so well done, and like every aspect of it that I would have thought to put in it was there. The concept of the book was great. It's just something about the writing that I can't get into. Like I can't get into Adam Silvera's writing, and I don't know why. I think that the point of view switches were done really well, and I think his writing is done well. It's just for some reason I can't get fully into his stories, and I couldn't buy their romance. I honestly thought they were better as friends, and I know like I'm all for male-male romances, like oh my god, my favorites, but but this one I couldn't just buy into. I don't know, but it was still an enjoyable read. I enjoyed my time. I really liked the messages in this book, but I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next book here I read was Project Semicolon. This is basically a nonfiction young adult book, and it's full of essays and photos from a suicide awareness organization. I was really looking forward to picking this one up because of course I want to support awareness for suicide, and I always like reading books about mental health and mental illness, so this was just on my radar as soon as it came out this month. And basically I was so disappointed. I think this book has great messages, and I'm grateful for this Project Semicolon for what they've done for people, but I thought this book is so triggering for so many people. I think it has trigger warnings for literally everything, from suicide to self-harm to assault to rape to obsessive compulsive disorder to just so many things. And I think this was just really hard to read, and the stories were all like, it was the same tattoos, and then you flip the page and it's literally almost the same story with a few things changed with the name. And I know everyone has their own experiences, but the way these were written, they were very repetitive, if that makes sense. And I know everyone's individual story is going to be different. I know people suffer from similar things, but maybe not in the same way. But I just didn't feel like that was fleshed out enough in this. And it also just, for me, brought a lot of memories to resurface and a lot of anxiety. So if you are triggered by any of these things, just please don't read it. I gave this 2 stars. I think the concept was great, but the execution wasn't. And I really wouldn't suggest it, but like, pick it up if you want, kind of thing. Next up here, I read The Mist by Stephen King. This is a novella, which I didn't actually know. I was just reading it on my, I got an e-reader this month, so I was reading it on my Kobo, because I don't have a Kindle. I'm Canadian, I got a Kobo. But The Mist is a story about a dad and son who get trapped in the grocery store, and they can't go outside, and they're with a bunch of people because there's this mysterious mist that's killing people, and if you go outside you basically die, and that sort of thing. Basically, I saw the film when I was like a bit younger, so I kind of knew what was in the mist kind of thing, but I thought this story was really interesting. I was actually so into it. Like, I was there. I could picture everything so well. Like, before they were in the grocery store with the whole little family and there was the lake, like that was everything. It has some creepy elements as well, which I kind of liked seeing. So if you're interested in like a Halloween-ish read, maybe check this one out. I thought the beginning was way better than the end. I like the ending, since it is a novella, it's not fully fleshed out, so it kind of just dropped, and it's kind of those endings where you gotta decide or you gotta think about what's gonna happen. It wasn't my favorite ending, but the first half was definitely better for me than the second half, so I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next book that I read was Dennis and Greer, edited by Molly Gold, and this book is a non-fiction love story. It is about these 2 people. One is the man is going to war, and they obviously have feelings for each other, so they send notes back and forth, and their conversations back and forth, and they chat and all this sort of stuff. But you know, it's one of those army love story things, and basically Molly Gold found all of their it says buried in a trunk for 50 years, this long forgotten tale told through letters and journals from the war-torn. So it basically talks about war and love and things like that. So I was asked to review this by Molly, and so this is an art copy, so I believe it is out now. I'll DNF this one, and I made a whole video about DNFing books, and I felt really bad DNFing a review copy, but personally I wasn't enjoying it. It wasn't for me personally, and I was really excited about it, so I was kind of sad about that. But it was basically like, I don't mean this to any disrespect to like the actual people who this was based on, but I thought, like, I didn't like their love story. I just couldn't buy into it, and I just thought it was kind of cheesy, and like I wasn't interested in it, and it kind of felt like Dear John but done poorly. So I don't know, I had some problems with it. I was really sad that I DNF'd it, and I just didn't like the format of it, so I'm really sad about that. But it still has an interesting premise, so I don't know if you guys would want to check it out. But yeah, I DNF'd it. I've never DNF'd a review copy. I feel kind of bad about it, but that's how it's gonna be, so. Then my reading went a little bit downhill. So I read Depression and Other Magic Tricks. This is a poetry collection that I've heard pretty decent things about, not on BookTube, but on like Goodreads and like from people at like the bookstore and things like that. Basically, I hated this. I gave it 1.5 out of 5 stars. It was disappointing. It's not what I expected. It was really like, there was a lot of nagging about this relationship ending, which I get it. Like, a lot of poetry is about relationships and the heartbreak of them, but this one was so much that I was like, no, I didn't like it. I expected, from the title Depression, I thought it was going to tackle some really important issues and really dive into this, and instead it was just her nagging about a relationship that didn't go the way she wanted. And I was kind of like, I expected something more from this. I expected a great mental health poetry collection, which is not what it was at all, so I was really sad about that. I read The Chaos of Longing. This is another poetry collection that I gave 2 stars. Some trigger warnings with this one for sexual assault and rape, so keep that in mind before picking this up. So this book goes from such an important topic like rape and abuse and things like that to calling, like, there was this one relationship that was an abusive relationship, and then I believe there was another relationship. It was really confusing. I I hope it was a different relationship and it wasn't the same dude both times, but my point is it would go from talking about such important issues and like talking about a woman being violated and things like that, and then it would talk about her obsessing over this guy and calling him God, and I'm like, no, I'll pass. We got some manga, yay. So I'm super happy about all the manga that I read. I loved so much of it, and yeah. So first up, I read Dead Man Wonderland Volume 1. This was a reread for me. This series is about a boy named Ganta who he is in his classroom and his whole classroom gets murdered by this red man, and he's the only one who lives, so he gets accused and sent to this prison that's kind of like an adventure, not adventure park, but it's like an amusement park prison that people go to like watch the prisoners like play these games and stuff. And he goes there because he's accused. It's about his experiences there and with the prison and the people he meets inside. So this was a reread for me. I loved this. This was 4 stars, solid. I think this series is so good and doesn't get talked about enough in the manga world. Then I read Volume 2, which I gave a then I read Volume 2, which I gave 4 stars as well. 3 was a 4.25 for me. Volume 4 was another 4.25 for me. Volume 5 was a 4.25, and then Volume 6 was a 3.75 for me. So as you can see, I really loved these. I think they're great. I would highly recommend checking them out, especially if you're not used to manga. I think this would be a little nice gateway in. Here I read Tokyo Ghoul Volume 1 and 2. Volume 1 was a reread for me and Volume 2 was the first time. But basically, this is about this boy who goes on a date, gets attacked on this date, and he basically becomes half human, half ghoul, which ghouls are people who consume human flesh. They find human food really gross. The only thing that they can have is human flesh and coffee. So it's about this boy who becomes half ghoul, half human, so he's coping with that, and it's about his experiences in this world and all the things he has to go through and his confusion about what the hell's happening and things like that. So basically, I gave both these about a 4 stars? Did I get both? Yeah, I gave both these 4 stars. I like this series. I'm excited to continue. So that's next up here. I read Monster, and this is Volume 1, and it's one of the bind-ups. But basically, this was not what I expected, and I'd recommend going into it blind, so I'm not really going to give much of a synopsis, but it is creepy, it is a mystery, it is a thriller, but it involves doctors as well. It's very cool, not what I expected at all, but really good. I would definitely suggest it. I think it has a lot to offer, and for a first collection like this, it was pretty good. So I give it a 3.75 out of 5 stars, and it's perfect for this time of year. Pick it up now. We will scoot away from the manga for a second and talk about some other things, but basically I read 2 poetry collections again. I read The Road Between by Courtney Peppernell. It didn't blow me away, I didn't love it. I think it was still okay, and I gave it 3.25 out of 5 stars. I read her other poetry collection, well, I read this one before that, and it is Pillow Thoughts by Courtney Peppernell. This was great, I loved this. This is divided into a bunch of little sections. It's if you're dreaming of someone, if you are in love, if you are heartbroken, if you are lonely, if you are sad, if you're missing someone, if you need encouragement, if you are soul searching, if you need a reason to stay, and these are for you. So this is just full of poetry. I loved it. I think it really was great, and it really just focused on a lot of different things. I thought it was written very well as well, and I just really enjoyed my time reading this, and I think a lot of people would enjoy it. So I ended up giving this 4 out of 5 stars. And next up here, I read The One and Only Ivan by Catherine Applegate. This is such a cute story. It is a middle grade book, and it is about a gorilla named Ivan who lives in like this mall, and like it's like not a zoo, but it's like a little animal thing in the mall. So he lives there. His name is Ivan. He can draw. People go there to see this gorilla, and we follow his narrative most of the time. And then he has a friend named Stella, and he has a friend that's a dog named Jack, I think, and the elephant was named Stella. And oh my god, this is the cutest story ever. I think if you want to read middle grade, read this. I think if you are in middle grade, like if you are in middle school or you are around that age group that this is targeted for, I think it'd be amazing for you, and I think it is amazing for all audiences. Basically, this was just adorable, and I really like the messages conveyed in this about animals and about doing what's right for them, and I think the character in this, Julia, was really strong. She's one of those like strong female characters that did something really important. I would just highly recommend this. It's really cute. It's such a fast read. Like, it's literally like huge font. Like, I read this in like a sitting and I couldn't stop, and it was great. I'd highly recommend it. I gave it 4 stars. Now we're going to talk about the last 2 things I have here, and one of them was a really high rating, so I'm really excited about it. But their manga, I got Doubt Volume 1 and Doubt Volume 2. This is a horror manga series. I think it's really great. Basically, I don't know exactly how to describe it. Like, I went into it knowing just that it's horror and it's supposed to be really cool. So if you want to go into it like that, please do. But it says,
Rabbit Doubt, a mobile phone game, has taken Japan by storm. In it, players are rabbits who must uncover the wolf in Rabbit's clothing before falling prey to its wiles, as well as its teeth. When a group of players decide to meet offline, the last thing they expect is to lose consciousness and wake up trapped in an abandoned building, mysterious bar, codes tattooed on their bodies, and a corpse strung up in a room in front of them. To stay alive, they have but one option: to sniff out the lying wolf in their midst, while these virtual acquaintances are able to pull it together in the real world and avoid ending up the wolf's dinner.
So basically, this game comes to life, and it's so cool, so dark. I loved it, and I would highly recommend it also for this time of year. But this was just so good. I love the art style. At first, this first volume, I wasn't a huge fan of the characters, but I really got used to them. And the second volume, holy shit, man, that plot twist. I'm not even gonna get into it. The first volume, I'm so done. First volume I gave 4 stars, and the second I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars. I'm super excited to continue. I can't find volume 3 anywhere. Like, my bookstore doesn't have it, so I'm like trying to get a hold of the bind up version, because like they sell them like in smaller versions, but it's like, now I want the bind ups. So I had to get volume 3 still, but this is great. It reminded me of that Criminal Minds episode where these 2 dudes like get a bunch of people and like they like reenact like a video game kind of thing. It was kind of like that. They bring this game to life, and like someone's watching and like amused by it. But anyways, they were great. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. So there you guys have it. I think that was everything that I read this month. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you've read any of these books, and if you've enjoyed any of these books, or if you're interested in picking any of these books up, let me know what you read as well, and I'll see you all very soon with a new video. And if you are new here, be sure to click that subscribe button and click the notification bell to be updated for when I post new videos and all that sort of stuff, and I'll see you all very soon with a new video. Bye!